the beginning of my journey in executive protection is, well, I guess at birth, because I was born into a private investigation and security company. You know, my dad started it in 1967, and I literally used to play on the floor in his office in Fullerton, California, since I was a little kid. You know, I was around the business. I was around in the industry, listening to what went on, you know, with clients and phone calls and stuff like that. I went on stakeouts with my dad. I, you know, did little stuff here and there as a little kid. And then when I was older, I started working for him. So I already understood the atmosphere and the landscape of the industry, and started working for him. And then he started training me, so I knew what I was doing. And that's where it all started. And it just evolved from there. It's something that I love. He instilled such a strong and passionate belief system and mindset of situational awareness, being ready for what's happening, always keeping an eye on things. I wouldn't necessarily say my dad was paranoid, but he was probably a little hyper vigilant. Rarely did he turn it off. And I was that way for a while, probably as a younger adult. I've learned to relax a little bit, but you know, as things evolved, and then he passed in 97, and I took over the business with no business training, education, nothing. And I was a decent technician, but knew nothing about business. So that's when my business education began. I started listening and reading and learning, and you know, and now I've got what I've got today. So I've been very fortunate. But I was always driven. You know, on my dad's deathbed, he literally told me to keep the business going. So it was my desire to not only keep it going, but to grow it in honor of him. And that's what we've been very successful in doing.
Wow. That's super incredible. When you were a kid going on stakeouts with your dad, how old were you?
Well, if there was no possibility of danger, I would literally, if he was just doing a spot check or, you know, trying to find a vehicle or something like that, or even going to take a statement from a witness, 6, 7, 8 years old, you know, if it was something like on an insurance defense a situation where somebody's, you know, they said they can't work, but they're working or they're doing stuff they can't do. 15, and then 16, 17, he was literally training me. I was in the surveillance vehicle for hours at a time, and he's telling me exactly what I should be doing and how I should be doing it, and how we tail him when the person leaves, and you know, where the cameras should be set up, and all this other stuff, you know, and then when I started doing it myself, every day I'd get home, we'd review the video and see what I did and didn't do right. And I'd get an earful when I made a mistake. So became kind of a perfectionist in that regard.
That's awesome. What was the first sector, if you will, of the security industry that you broke out into when working with your dad?
I would say executive protection, doing things like protecting people in conjunction with an ongoing investigation. If we did an investigation and there was a court appearance or something, and the person that we did the investigation on was upset with our client's client, or the attorney, we would do protection at the courthouse, whatever. Some workplace violence stuff where somebody that we did an investigation when somebody was, you know, out drinking beer when in the, you know, the client's company vehicle instead of working, and then they got irate because they were going to get fired, then we would do the protection work. But you know, you have to have a separate license to just do security and protective work. So I just got the license, and then I started the security company, and it just exploded. So it's dramatically larger than the private investigation division now.
That's awesome. That is awesome. What do you think your favorite part about all this is?
Hands down, my favorite part is leading a team, working with a team, working within a team. And I've been fortunate. I've had a lot of details, whether it was down in the Gulf states after all the hurricanes, on large strike details in the Bay Area, you know, 100 plus agents, you know, different events. I like working with a team, working with fellow professionals. And that's, you know, I was an athlete pretty much my whole life. So that is where I was comfortable. And that's what I like to do. So I like to lead a group of trained professionals, watch them do the job, and then ultimately watch how happy the client is. It's very satisfying.
Where do you see yourself moving forward and growing within the industry from here?
Well, the company continues to grow quite a bit. We doubled in size last year, and we're focusing our sales and marketing more on the executive protection industry. We do have a uniform division, but frankly, it's not something that I enjoy. A lot more headaches, a lot more moving parts. In EP, a lot of your agents are set and forget people. You tell them this is your mission, and they make it happen. No drama, rarely make mistakes. The client's happy, low maintenance, great return. That's what I like doing. So we're just going to continue growing the business. Obviously, I'm less involved in the investigations and security side of things because of my live program. That's where I've focused my energy, and that's where I'm passionate. And ever since I had a student credit my course with saving her life at the Las Vegas shooting, that is where I have focused the majority of my energy. I'd love to have more stories like that. I'd love for my instructors to have stories like that. When someone says you're responsible for saving my life, the only other thing more gratifying and profoundly, life-changing than that is having children. And I've been lucky enough to have 2 amazing children. Number 2 was somebody looking me in the eye and saying, because of your training, I believe I'm alive today. That's, wow, that'll change everything for you.
That's major impact right there. You made a big difference right there. And are those your kids behind you?
This is my son's a few years ago. He's now in the Marine Corps. And this is my daughter last year when she graduated high school. And she's about to start college.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with everyone. Would you say that everyone can ask you more questions in the comments?
I would say that. Ask me questions if you want to know anything. I enjoy mentoring people getting into the industry, frankly. I've done it several times. It's satisfying. I didn't have that. My father died very, 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 it took 2 days from the time he had a heart attack until he passed away. So I didn't know anything about business. And if I'd had a mentor for business, who knows where we'd be today. So I enjoy mentoring people in whatever industry and watching them flourish and grow and become successful. And that's pretty satisfying for me. So definitely ask questions, leave comments. I'd love to hear that stuff and have discussions. So thank you very much.